I have been putting this off for almost a year now, and I figure that it's about time I get off my ass and do something about it. Let's make a game. Before I do anything, I need to ask myself what I want to make and how I'm going to make it. I have 3 ideas for games that I want to make, 2 of which are very ambitious, and I don't think it would be a wise idea to jump right into making them lest I bite off more than I can chew. This, rather conveniently, leaves me with one idea, a top-down action tower defense game. Action tower defense, meaning regular tower defense, but the player can actually do something once enemies start appearing on screen. Examples of this include Sanctum, Dungeon Defenders, and Orcs Must Die, all of which are inherently tower defense games but have an emphasis on the player character doing a significant portion of the lifting. For the most part, the game I'm proposing is going to be fairly by the books, build towers, defend objectives, and kill horde after horde of relentless enemies, but I hope to be spicing things up with a variety of player weapons and abilities. I'll explain more on this as it becomes relevant, but first I need to think about how I'm going to go about making it. There are a variety of tools and game engines available that I could use to make this game, of which I don't really want to use any. I kinda want to make my own game engine for no other reason than I think it'll be a fun challenge. It is not a smart move by any means, but it's still one that I want to make. After all, man never got anywhere interesting by being smart, now did he? Now let's talk programming languages. If I'm making my own engine, that means that I'm basically free to use whatever programming language I see fit. So, what do I want out of a language? Performance is the most pressing issue to me. The game I'm proposing now may not exactly be the next Crysis, but I would like the ability to reuse my engine for more demanding projects in the future, so I'm prioritizing that sooner as opposed to later. Next, I would like some cross-platform support. I'm currently running on a Windows system, and as a result, that's what I'm going to be building for and testing on for a significant part of development. But I would like the ability to target Linux systems down the line, as I know that there is a small but not insignificant population who do prefer to game on Linux. Now that that's been established, let's go on with choosing a language. Off the top of my head, the big players right now are C#, C++, Java, JavaScript, and Python. I'm going to be choosing from these because they're popular and well-established languages that have a wide selection of libraries and documentation to help me with just about any problem I should come across. First, let's just eliminate these 2 right out of the gate, Python and JavaScript. I harbour a burning hatred for these languages. Now, don't get me wrong, they have their applications where they excel admirably, but in this case they're simply not what I'm looking for. JavaScript is geared more towards web development and has served us well in that field for several years, and Python is very well suited to lightweight scripting. But beyond these applications into full-scale desktop development, I believe that there are simply better alternatives. Now onto the eternal 3-way between Java, C#, and C++. There's not really a whole lot of winning here. These languages all have their strengths and their weaknesses regarding what I want to do with them, and either way someone's going to end up pissed. I could sit here and analyse their pros and cons for a few hours, or I could just save everyone the time and choose the language I would most like to make this in, and that language would be C++. It's a language I feel very comfortable with, it should allow me to make just about anything I can dream up, and there's a long list of libraries available for it to do all the platform-specific stuff that I don't want to do myself. Though this does bring up a problem with cross-compatibility, as C++ code is not nearly as portable as that of Java or C#. The plan right now is to just take the same source code and shove it through a different compiler to build for a different platform. Provided that I avoid platform-specific code wherever possible and stay within the realms of the C standard library, porting it over shouldn't be too much of a hassle, but that's a bridge that we'll cross, build, and or burn when we get there. Now let's come up with a development plan. I'm talking both long and short term here. First, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be making my own game engine for this project. The plan is to develop the engine alongside the game so that by the end of development I'll have a completed game and a game engine that I'll be free to reuse for any future projects I undertake. Let's drill down on our long-term development plan. I won't be considering any estimates of how long things are going to take, as I am awful at estimating that sort of stuff, and there is a high possibility something is going to take me off schedule at some point. So this is basically just going to highlight what order things are going to be done in. First and foremost is to create a minimum viable product for the game. Emphasis here on minimum. This isn't supposed to be fun, this isn't supposed to be good, this is just supposed to be a proof of concept. If a feature is not absolutely essential to the functioning of the game, it's cut. The minimum viable product will consist of one level, with one wave consisting of one enemy. This enemy will travel left until it hits an objective, and if it does, it's game over. There will be a player who can move, shoot a projectile that will kill the enemy if it hits it, and place down a tower that will automatically shoot projectiles at said enemy. To accomplish this, the engine will need to be able to make a window, draw something on screen, update it once every frame, and take keyboard and mouse input. Once we hit this minimum viable product, the game will go into an open alpha. During this time, it will be completely free to download, and I intend to be pushing out updates about once every 2 weeks, though I'm still not entirely sure where I'm going to be hosting the downloads for this. The reason I'm going open so soon is that I can get as many people as possible effectively playtesting the game for me. This will allow me to eliminate bugs earlier and shape the game according to player feedback, which will hopefully lead to a better final product. During this point in development, I'll be focused on turning the minimum viable product into what I call a minimum desired product. This will contain most, if not all, of the features you can think of that were cut from the minimum viable product. That's things like different types of enemies, different weapons, sound, a UI, multiple levels, and if I'm feeling especially fancy, I might even add some multiplayer capabilities. This is also where I'm going to start porting over to other platforms. Once this has been accomplished, and I feel that the core of the game has been nailed down, it's going to go into a closed beta. During this time, I'll be focused on making the game more fun to play and adding more variety to it in the form of new player classes, levels, enemies, etc. After the beta, the game should emerge resembling a finished product, at which point it's going to be put into paid early access. The main purpose of this is to iron out any bugs or balance issues that emerge during the beta before the final release hits. So now that we have the long-term plan sorted, what's our immediate course of action? Obviously, we want to work towards the minimum viable product, and I'd say the first step towards that goal is getting something drawn on screen. But if I've learned anything from projects undertaken in the past, it's the value of a good logger. The ability to create crash reports and see exactly what happened in your program can be very helpful when it comes to debugging. So I'm going to prioritize that before doing anything else, after which I'm probably going to work on getting a window on screen. If you want to keep up to date with the development of this game, be sure to subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be posting regular update videos at least once every 2 weeks, where I talk about where development is and the direction it's heading in. If you'd like to follow me outside of YouTube, I have a Discord server linked in the description where you can talk to me directly. Other than that, I'm VD15, and I'll see you next time.